Time has come once again to speak as co-creators in Magic Do. I'm Daniel Dubois.
And I'm Michaela Stone, and we are your guides on your journey into the heart of the primordial. Daniel's
Welcome.
pointing to it, so
Yes.
I remember what to say.
Welcome to season 10, episode 5. I was in fact correct last week. So today's title is Love is the Deliverer. So it was the destroyer, but it's also the deliverer.
I
And
think
it's
our
kind of,
planet needs some love right now.
yeah. And the reason that's the case, or at least we'll get to it. So basically the wording is, I'll use the full wording. We need to turn this motherfucker into a fantasy world.
Mm.
As in, if you do magic, do magic. We touched a little bit on it before, saying not just doing readings and, being your old grandma, putting her beads on, if she's a Catholic, putting her prayer beads on the door so she can have a nice day for your picnic or whatever, or your sporting event or magic, like actual magic, like get in there, do what you can do. If you can do a spell that helps enlighten someone, do a spell that helps enlighten someone. If you can offer someone protection from the weather and they actually need it, do that. If you need to turn away someone, turn away someone.
Protection from the weather. That's or the effects of the weather
Yeah.
would be something I think if we could all do that for the firefighters in whatever country they're
Mm-hmm.
in, that would be really good. Disaster relief wherever it is, that would be
Yep.
really good because there's so many fires right now. Wow. And
Right.
Europe is, I don't even know if Europe's on fire, but if it isn't, it will be because
Yeah.
they're having this massive heat wave as well.
Right.
And it's just the planet is groaning under the weight of everything we've done to it. So,
And that's the thing, right? So the reason it's falling upon people who do magic is one, we have a lot of technology and we have a lot of people with ill intent that have done extraordinary harm. And so
yeah.
we now require extraordinary intervention.
Yes, that is
And,
exactly what we require.
right. And so now is the time to be doing your magic. Now, the reason why love is the deliverer is, and this is a reminder, right? Love is not just a whole kumbaya thing, holding hands and singing around the campfire. It's also doing what needs to be done for someone, even if they don't want to do it necessarily because they're afraid or making tough decisions out of the motivation of love rather than trying to harm someone. So,
Compassion can be fierce.
yes, love is not always the example of the mama bear comes to mind.
Sekhmet comes to mind for me. I have recently had a discussion about Sekhmet
Right,
with Mark Williams.
right.
And, we were talking about the fierceness that's involved sometimes in compassion. And I think that fits here very, very
Yeah.
well. The lioness is protective of her cubs and she'll rip you apart if you're doing
Mhm.
something that's going to cause them danger. So, but that's still a compassionate response to her cubs, right?
Yeah,
There's sometimes too, there's it's more than protection of your immediate. It's also for the greater good kind of thing.
right. Well, and it's to invoke wisdom because since there's a lot of forest fires going on right now, And
Where are they?
as a reminder to people, there are species of trees that reproduce by forest fire.
Yes.
So you're not, your task with your magic is not to stop the forest fires. It's to be strategic in what you do with your magic surrounding something like the forest fires.
Like
Are
protecting the
you,
firefighters.
yes, are you protecting the firefighters? Are you protecting the elderly who can't breathe in this weather? I did that because I have two relatives who have breathing problems that
Mhm.
needed it. So I did that magic. But like I said, you don't want to disrupt the natural process that the trees need, but you want to keep the excess to a minimum. It's
Right.
non-existent.
Also, I do feel that calling for rain in places where it's desperately needed, um, I can still get behind that. I'm going to be doing that because, much of the state of Colorado
Mm,
is it's dry. It's like it's bone dry. But I was talking with someone this morning who's in New Jersey,
right.
and they were having a huge storm while I was talking to her, and I was kind of jealous because I love storms.
Mm,
And I was like, oh, there's thunder and lightning and everything, and I'm not there. But the interesting thing was they have terrible air right now in New
mm,
Jersey because it's coming
right.
from the north, right? But they also have the storms happening with loads of rain, and so that's making the air kind of smokier even.
Mm,
And the part that surprised me was I was talking about the drought restrictions we have here where I am in Colorado, and she said, "Oh, we have those too."
mm.
And I was like, "What? How the hell do you have drought
Well,
restrictions?"
I'll offer you
Hang
this.
on though, hang
Go
on
ahead.
though. She lives in a place
Right.
where their town is on a well.
Mm,
And so
yes.
the groundwater
Yes.
for the well is down, even though on the surface they're getting hammered with storms and they have the output of fires. So, like I think Mother Nature's particularly mad at Jersey right now for
Mm.
some reason. They're really catching it. I was surprised. I didn't expect her to say they had water restriction.
Well, I mean, like, I don't have water restrictions here, but our water comes from a well. We pump it out of a fault line.
Mm.
But we have in the summer usually we have like because it gets dry here in the summer, so we get fire restriction or fire bans. Like basically, they require us to get fire permits to do any fires because of it. And we were on a no fire even with a permit for the last week because of how dry it
We're
was and how hot it was.
we have that nearly all the time.
Yeah.
No fire is like usual because we typically have high winds here and it's dry
Hmm.
here, which is perfect fire weather. And looking at the state being on fire, you can see
Yeah.
why there's a perpetual fire ban.
Yes.
It's quite unusual for it to be okay to have a fire. But as you were saying, I think
Mm.
you got to be very judicious about what you're asking for
Right.
and how that's going to impact because if you go hog wild on the hey we need rain, let's do some really strong rain magic, assuming you can tap into that, you don't want flash floods, right?
Right.
Like you got to be aware of what you're asking for and do you want what you're asking for? And we've said this so many times before,
Hmm.
but it bears consideration because, when you ask for clarity and you ask for your eyes to be opened, you are going to see one ton of shit that you might not be prepared for, right?
Right.
Um, and if you're doing it for someone else, you got to be extra specially careful that you are
Mm.
not impinging on their path. I
Right.
think looking for safety for someone that should be pretty safe. As far as
Yeah.
I can tell, I can't think of a reason why
Right.
not.
Well, and that's why love is the deliverer, because that if you're truly doing something out of love, then you are careful to get a good outcome or to get the outcome the person needs. So that's why love is being the deliverer. Love is the destroyer because it's the antidote to what's happening. But love is also the deliverer because it's what's going to bring you your solutions to get out of where you are or where we are collectively. I mean, there's no
Yeah,
isolation in the world that much anymore. I imagine there's some
there
pockets of jungle
isn't.
somewhere, but
And
even they're
we've
affected.
we've been saying for the last, what, year and a half that things are going to be destroyed so that they
Hmm.
can be recreated.
Right.
Um, there go. Like we're looking at the
Right.
things that are happening, and then you still have to navigate them, though. You still
Right.
have to try and be the best you can be, and when you're using magic, like really be intentional with it. Yes, I know we've said it many times, but each time we say it, there's a different layer to it.
Right.
There's a different level of intention. It's not just, I want this, but really, what's your long-term picture? Not
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
immediate now, but where is this going to be in 5 years' time, given what you're doing now?
Yeah. Like you're co-creators in an experience, and you have to take that responsibility seriously. You're co-creating. So better to do it out of love, especially right now. Because it's like, I was thinking about yesterday. Again, we're at where one Kali Yuga ended and where another one starts. But it's at the bottom. This is as low as it gets. So we're starting to now work our way towards up the hill to get out of the valley, right? And it's like, but it's still going to suck and it's still going to require a lot of effort and things are not going to be perfect.
One
So it takes
hopes it's
even
as
more
low
love.
as it can get.
Yeah.
One hope, I one hopes it's as low as it can get,
Yes.
and I just pulled three cards because sometimes I do that, and
Mm.
I'm going to show the three to you in the order they came in.
Insight, protection, and harmony.
There you go. That's what we have. Insight, protection, and harmony. I think that's a good flow, something to consider.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I posted a video about this, but yeah. So I pulled a card and on the deck, the same one recently I bought, right? So it's like animal elders. And so elder deer came up three times, and elder deer is the tagline for elder deer's card is soften into love. And I pulled it three times in a row. One was, I was like, okay, what am I going to focus on today? Pull the card, soften into love. And then the next day I had a spell to do. I go, okay, well, what's the purpose of the spell? Pull it, soften in, elder deer, soften into love. Then again, I pulled, okay, well, what's the next thing to do now? And then pulled it, soften into love. It's like,
Okay, you have a clear theme.
yeah, every time. Like there was no other pulls in between. It was just constantly the same card. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, okay, I got the message.
I typically get that when I'm trying not to use the card I've pulled,
Mm,
which I still do on the odd occasion. I'll look at a card and I'm like, I just don't want to deal with you right now. And I put it back into the pack and I shuffle it and I pull again and there it is looking at me and I'm like, no, really not. And I put it back and shuffle it and yep, there it is again. It's like, okay, fine, fine, fine. All
yeah,
right, when it keeps coming back, and it's just going to keep doing it. So, okay, all right, give in gracefully.
right.
It's just some days, though, you pull a card and it's just like, oh, you know what you're looking at. It's going to be a lot. And it's just, do I have the bandwidth for this? I mean, this week for me has been insane. Like, absolutely. I was within a centimeter of quitting a job.
Mm,
Just one more breath, and I was going to be telling them graphically where they could stuff it. It was so close. And I stuck on that knife edge
mm,
for a few hours. Like I was just, it was really, really pushing all the buttons I have. And it was like, okay, the universe is really telling me in every way
mm,
possible that this is not for you. You got to get out of here. And I'm
right.
seeing it. I'm seeing it. Yes, I agree. But sometimes taking the action that's required isn't quite now, right? Like sometimes you got to do a step or two before you can get there.
Yeah. Because this is sitting
Or
on my
maybe I'm
mind.
wrong and I just got to leap. I don't know. But
Well,
yeah, I'm teetering on the brink here.
yeah. Well, on the last episode you post that's posted from your for which you shit by design, you did say after you were done recording you were quitting.
After I was done recording, I said I was quitting what, the job?
Yeah, as you were discussing getting rid of stuff, you had said that you were saying like sometimes you have to get rid of old stuff, and when this episode's over, I'm handing in my resignation.
Oh, and I did. That was a
Oh, you
different
did?
job. And I
Oh, okay,
did.
okay. That's what I was just trying to
I
figure out
did.
here. Okay.
Yeah, no, well, I work for three different companies.
Yes, that's right.
And this one was it was irritating
Mm,
and uh yeah, there's been a common theme coming up
mm,
lately. And I did quit that one.
right,
Like that was legit. I did. No, this is another one, and it's the one I rely on more.
right,
Um, that makes it hard to quit. If it was one of the lesser ones, I'd be just like, you can
right.
take it, you can stuff it where the sun don't shine. But there's just so much going on. Um, it I don't know, and I think other people are finding this too, where there's things they've got happening that keep disintegrating, shall we say? They keep
Yeah,
just it's baffling the way they turn to shit, and you're watching it happen, and it's like, why? How did that just do what I saw it do? How did that happen? And why now? And the answer to those questions really is, well, you're getting a smack up the back of the head
yeah,
by the universe. You got to do something. The tricky
yeah.
part, the tricky part
Yes, got the
is
wand out.
doing it.
Yeah,
I have got my one out. The tricky part is actually doing it.
yes,
But yeah, that's my battle at the moment is taking the action that I know I need to take. Uh, whew,
yeah. Well,
obstacles, they come in the way.
yeah. Well, because one of the things that I've been thinking about, or that's at least crossed my mind, is that, and I don't know if I'm going to word this properly, but maybe time for some of us to be spellcasters for hire.
Spellcasters for hire. Not me. No.
No, well,
I
I
mean,
I already,
if you have the capacity
yeah.
and you feel resourced enough to do
Mhm,
that, 100% go for it. Not that you need my permission, but I'm just saying for the listener as well. If you feel like you're resourced, you have everything you need to be able to do that for other
mhm,
people, go for it, man. Like, yes, people need help. I'm not resourced.
right.
I do not have extra to give out right now. Like, maybe in the future, but not at this point. I got too much shit to deal with.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, so because magic has to come to the forefront. Huh, well, that one got out of me. I wasn't even really thinking about that one. But anyway, yeah. So that statement came out. So yeah, like I said, right, it's got to become like we've got to
Who's
basically
got that again?
harmony, seek
Again.
balance in all aspects. Yeah. So yeah, we kind of got to make this place where people know there's magic, not just hiding in the corners, or even in the closet with the door open, but out there.
You like that one, huh?
Well, I do. I love that one. Yeah, it's like it's really time to make magic known as a force, not just a
Yes.
novelty, not just a whatever. If you think that, you think that kind of a thing, but an actual that it's undeniable. I'm not expecting that to happen tomorrow. I'm just saying it's time to start doing that. Time to start bringing it up.
Yep. And you mentioned magic for hire, so to speak.
Yeah.
There are witches out there that you can contact, listener, who do different kinds of magic. So what are you looking for? Check very carefully.
Right.
Really check in before you try and work with someone. And again, it is extra specially super important to be clear of what you're asking for because you are now expecting someone else to interpret your request
Right.
and they will act upon that request. And then it has to be interpreted by the spirits that receive it. You've got a lot of interpretation happening
Mm,
along that chain. So you've got to be super duper clear on what you're saying. The other thing is when somebody else does magic for you, typically you have a part to play. You have something you
yes.
need to do as well. And you better make sure that you do your part or shit's going to go south. Right? Like
Right.
that's something I just want to make clear for anybody who's thinking, I'm going to hire Danielle to do
Right.
this particular thing for me. Okay, you better be really super clear when you do that and be very clear in your request and do your part. Because if you think he's going to do everything and you're done, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you do
You
not.
have to do
Yes.
your bit.
Yeah, the spirits are very well aware of who's asking for the magic. So, and if you're in any way, shape, or responsible spellcaster, it's going to be clear in the spell and how the energy flows, who's it's for, who's responsible, who's brought it up, and who you're acting as an intermediary for. And depending on the spirits you work with, I've said it before. Michaela and I are kind of in a interesting space when it comes to magic because we're conveying what the spirits want on a larger scale right now. And so we kind of skip things because we have permission to, which the rest of you don't. Like, remember last year, pretty much for a good chunk of the year, we were working with the new spirit every week because they wanted to be
Mhm.
seen by the world. They wanted the world to see them and they wanted the world to know that they're still out there. So we kind of like, I got to do a lot of magic without doing a lot of things to bond with the spirits. It was just like, we're doing this. Boom. So I didn't have to
Right,
spend my time doing all these things to build the relationship because it was like we have a mutual benefit here going on, so we're going to work together. I mean, and I'm already fairly preconditioned to work properly with spirits or work well with spirits. So, but for most of you, that's not going to be the case. You're going to have to build your relationships and you're going to have to be known by the spirit for what you need to do. So I might get
right.
away with
But
casting
I
certain
think as you
spells. Yeah. Go ahead.
but as you brought up the magic for hire,
Yeah.
that feels to me like it's very important
Oh, yeah.
because I think people are looking for that. And that's yes. So there's so many pieces you have to get correct there. And one of them is also the exchange, right?
Hmm.
Because you are requesting something that requires energy, knowledge, connection, action. There's a lot of things that you're asking that spellcaster for. So there will be an energetic exchange. And
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm talking
Yes.
about here is money, right? Money is an energy. It's not a bad thing. It's a thing that passes from one person to another, and you have, numbers in a
Hmm.
bank somewhere, and that's called money. But it is an energy exchange. And if the listener doubts what I'm saying here and are like, oh,
Hmm.
well, you just want money for money's sake. Okay, think of it this way. If you went to work and you did your job, and at the end of the day, the boss said, actually, you need to come in tomorrow and we're not going to pay you for the work tomorrow,
Hmm.
right? So they tell you up front, or we're going to pay
Yes.
you half the money tomorrow. How would that land for you? And how would your job be the next day when you went in? Would you work as hard? Would you work as diligently? Would you feel as present as you would if you were earning enough money? No, you're going to be pissed, right?
Right.
Because they're cheapskating you, and because now you're worried about how are you going to get the funds that are missing, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's a lot of ways it shows
Hmm.
up, but however it shows up in the material sense for you, what it really means is there is an energy imbalance,
Right.
and what you're receiving is not the same as what you're putting out. That harmony card that came up twice, that is important.
Hmm.
There is harmony in this energy exchange. So be prepared for that, whatever that is. The person you're talking to, they may have high price. It depends on what they're doing.
Yeah.
They may not. And I wouldn't care to call that. I have no idea from one practitioner to
Right.
another. But whatever it is, don't ask them for a discount. Don't do that. You do
Well,
not want discounted magic.
no, you don't. And remember,
No, you don't.
you're asking for an extraordinary intervention.
Yes. So you
Something,
you don't
yeah,
want that to backfire.
right, because
I wouldn't mess with it.
the spirits, to my understanding, don't take kind to being asked constantly for stupid things that you can do on your
Well,
own.
yeah. I mean, why would you really? It's a misuse.
Yeah. They're not a genie
But
trapped in a bottle there where you can
but
rub the
we
lamp and
we
make a wish.
but we do live in a world right now where many people are
Mm.
looking, how can I get away with this? Or well, how can I make that different? And they're not necessarily thinking outside of themselves. They're just looking at the immediate reward, which would be, oh, hey, I asked for a discount and got 50% off. Well, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't do that one.
No, and
If I'm
I'll
going to
offer you.
Danielle and asking him to do something and then telling him I'm going to give him 50% of the money, I am then going to brace myself for a whole
Well,
lot of things that I don't want.
there's a lot of things going on in the spirit world right now. And if you ask a caster to get 50% off, odds are the spirits are only going to give you 50% of the magic
And it might not be the 50% you
that you
prefer.
want. Yeah.
That's the
But I was going
thing.
to say
So
yeah, go ahead.
So that harmony piece is important on
Mm-hmm.
every level. Again, check your motivation, check your intention. Are you literally wanting what you're asking for
Mm-hmm.
enough to show up for it and do the work and do the energy exchange of paying for what you're receiving? Do you have all your ducks in a row?
Yes.
And if you
Yes.
don't, I'm not throwing shade on you here. Figure it out before you go ask.
Right.
Sort out what you're prepared to do and what you're prepared to exchange before you get into any kind of transaction because you will regret not being clear.
Yeah. And there is another energy cost other than the money transaction because let's say you come to me and ask me to do a protection spell for someone and I don't know that person or have the affection you have for that person. I need that energy from you. I can't do the transaction without that.
Mm.
So you're still
Well, they
giving
have to do
energy.
their part.
Yeah,
They
you have
have
to
to
do
do
your
their
part.
part, right?
Just because I'm going to be the intermediary between how your energy is moved and how the spirits are going to use your energy, I'm still only the intermediary. Yes.
I just
And I
pulled
need to
another
protect
card for
myself
the
from the
listener.
consequences. Yeah.
Yep, I just pulled another card
Yeah.
for the listener, and the word is protection.
Yeah.
Secure in your strength and resilience, you have the power to overcome challenges, but you need to be protective of yourself and
Hmm.
others.
Yeah.
And yep, that just popped up. Like, cool.
And that's again why love is the deliverer. Right now, the most effective magic is going to be done through the motivation of love.
That is the best motivation to come
Right.
from, honestly. I mean, anything else is going to, it's like throwing dirt in a glass of water and then wanting to drink it. Do
Hmm.
you really? You might want the clear water, right?
Right. It's so consider love, the love that you need to be the deliverer is similar to the rage we talked about. That rage where there's clarity. Not you're a victim of your emotions, but you're harnessing those emotions for what they're intended for.
Yes. You know,
Because
I
that,
think you're going to enjoy the episode that I just
mm,
recorded with Mark
yeah,
Williams. We have a lot of comments and wisdom in there that complements exactly what's being said here.
right,
The two harmonize really well for
yeah,
today's episode. I don't usually think of those ones in conjunction with
right.
these episodes, but this one is strongly tying in.
Mm. Well, that's good.
Yeah, we all
Yeah,
get to hear it first, so you'll enjoy it.
yeah. All right. Well, that's enough about that magic discussion. That just kind of hit a wall there.
Oh, I just picked another card. Renewal.
Oh,
Hmm. So yeah, chance to start fresh. What are we gonna do when things finish crumbling and we
yes.
need to be in place? We need to have an idea. We need to have a not a plan in the sense of it's all written down and you know exactly what your next steps are, but more a sort of sense of direction
Yes,
of what's next.
yes. And that's good because that was also something I knew was going to come up on the episode. So I was kind of thrown off when there was just a wall. Because yes,
Well,
that's the
maybe
next
I
one.
had to
It's
bring it up.
right. It's not just destroying. Okay, you've destroyed it. Now what? Yes, absolutely.
Chaos.
Yes.
I'm going to put the cards down because they're just
Mm,
going to keep playing with me.
yeah. Well, I mean, but if you look at what was written with chaos, right? It says find the calm moments when you can.
Yep.
And so,
Focus and a clear path forward.
right.
That's what it says.
So it's not just about destroying, because if you're just destroying, what are you doing? Because you're going to need to take time away from that. Actually, I got an example that gives two things to learn from. So we'll bring in my poor mother here again. But she's a good example, and she's actively trying to learn what I have to teach. So she was saying, she's not she, and we've talked about this before. She wins a lot of money, like not huge amount sums, but like weekly, she goes plays bingo, and she usually wins something like anywhere between $20 and $400, right?
Nice.
And right, yes. And so she's been on the low end the last couple of weeks, and she's wondering if she's like, am I like asking too much and stuff like that, right? Because it kind of makes her think like, am I doing it right? What's going on? And then she wants to doubt everything. And so the point to the discussion got to was I said, how happy would you be if you won the big prize every week? And like just like three prizes, right? Like a first prize,
Mhm.
second prize, whatever. And I go, let's just say you won one of those every week. I know from my mom's character, and she did actually end up saying it. I says, how would you feel? And she goes, well, and you could feel it, right? That would
Mhm.
suck. And why would it suck? Because she would be the only one winning all the time. One of the more, however you want to look at it, is she knows people would start talking, and she knows people would start complaining. So there's that, And I says, and would it be, and it probably wouldn't be fun for anyone else. And I know for her, if it wasn't fun for anyone else, she wouldn't want to do it anymore, right? Because of her just winning all the time. So I said, you're worried about, the spell not working and you not winning, but think about your character. You wouldn't want to be hated for winning all the time. And that's a major part of your personality, right? But it
The
was something
other
she
thing
couldn't clue
is,
into. She had a hard time cluing into it.
well, the other thing is, and
Yeah.
this is for you, Danielle's mom,
Right.
if you had, think of the weather we all have right now, right?
Right.
Wherever you
Mm-hmm.
are. If you had whatever you've got going on right now all the time,
Mm-hmm.
how would that be?
Right.
It becomes unhealthy. It becomes less enjoyable. If you had daytime all the time or you had nighttime
Yes.
all the time, what you value from it in the beginning disappears
Mm-hmm.
because now you never get a respite from it.
Right.
It's when I use the metaphor of the river and the canoe, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going down the river, you're just floating with the river
Mm-hmm.
and everything's smooth and nice, and that's great. But you'd be bored out of your tree if that's all that ever happened. You got to
Right.
have those points where you need to paddle through the rapids, or you've got to, change direction. You need something different to come in, or what's the point? It gets boring, right? So you can generalize that to just about
Mm-hmm.
anything you have in your life. If you only have the one thing and you don't get the other side of it, so
Right.
winning is what you do all the
Mm-hmm.
time, then you just assume it's a right. Not you personally, but anybody who has that experience, because it
Right.
becomes so
Yes.
continuous that obviously you're going to assume it's just that's the way it is. That's what always happens to me,
Yes.
and so it's not healthy for you to win all the time for so many reasons.
Right. No, that's very true. And I also brought it up because it's another thing to consider that she never considered that as a reason why the magic might be working a certain way. because she never thought about that component of herself. The fact that her intent is actually affected by it, but it's a layer she
Mhm.
hadn't gone into
Yeah.
because
And I
she
mean,
was
the
kind
thing
of getting
is,
frustrated, right? So I'm like, well, consider this.
it's
Yeah.
fun though.
Right.
uh, Perversely, I would say, it's fun to be able to try for something and sometimes not win.
Yes.
Because when you do win, it's a bigger thing, right? So you're kind of tipping the scales a little bit more. Think of a pendulum that
Yeah.
swings just a little bit. So you
Hmm.
get some small variations. But if that sucker's swinging from left to right, you've got the highs and the lows. You've got all the things going on. So that's another feature in there. How much fun do you want it to be? How alive do you want it to be? If it's just
Yeah.
another thing you do because you now rely on it as a source of money, there's a vulnerability there that's not very healthy
Mm.
because it becomes something you rely on. But
Right.
also, again, the one of the biggest problems I think human beings
Mm.
face is that they become complacent when something's always available,
Yep.
right? Like people who deny climate change or waste their resources. They just assume that they're always going to be there. We're always
Hmm.
going to have that. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter if I leave the tap running or whatever it is.
Right.
Well, that's not true. That's
Right.
that's not true. We don't have an endless supply of resources. What we have is a finite supply of
Hmm.
resources that the population will reduce to meet. We
Hmm.
will become the population that the resources sustain. It's
Yes.
not the other way
It's
around.
inevitable.
It is inevitable. So think of nature and animals. If the cycle of animals, right? If you have a whole load of deer and there's nothing to prey on them, and the
Yes.
hunters are limited as well because they are prey, right? So if you've got nothing to prey on the deer, they explode in population. There's deer everywhere. What happens? Well, how lovely. Look, you've got all those nice deer in the forest, but
Mm.
also you've got the ticks being
Yes.
transported from one to another. But the other thing is, at some point, there isn't enough food for all those deer. And the deer
Yes.
start to die of starvation,
Hmm.
which is a very ugly sight.
Right.
But it's nature's way of saying, no, there's too many. We can't sustain this. So you will drop your numbers to
Right.
equalize with what nature will sustain. People are so fucking arrogant now as to assume that just because we want to, we can dictate what nature's going to do. And you might be able to do that in small ways for a little while, but
Yes.
nature's going to bite you in the ass in the end. And it's one of those, that's a tendency that we have as human beings is to become very complacent about what we think we can control and what we think is ours.
Right. Well, I was going to say this winter I was reminded of it because I had like 4 feet of snow in the driveway because we had got a dump of 4 feet of snow overnight, and so that wasn't gone in a day. That took a couple of
Right.
days to get rid of.
And we hardly had any snow, which
Yeah.
means now we don't have any water.
Right. And even here, like we're not like I'm in Northern Ontario, but I'm not in the heart of where the fire is the worst. But we still had orange days.
Uh,
And we're still on
yeah.
fire bans and all that kind of stuff because we don't want to start fires. But the region I'm in has had major forest fires before, so it's not like
Uh,
this place is immune to them. I happen to live in an
well,
area we
nowhere
call
is.
no, and that's the thing. Like even me, like the winter had really taught me a lesson. Is like I had gotten so compliant because or so complacent because we are kind of in a little protected zone. We got our own little bubble where storms aren't as bad for us as it is for other people. So if it's bad for us, it's bad for everyone else when we get hit with it.
Right.
So yeah, so the fact that we had 4 feet of snow that took a couple of days to get out, plus the clearing the streets, plus the all the stuff. Like just as an individual, we were stuck in the house for 2 days. Like I mean, I was out shoveling trying to dig a path out because like we
Uh-huh.
hired someone to do it, but they were like running wild and they had to fix their machine because it was a lot of work on their machine. So
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? It just takes a kind of a moment. Even
It,
like
it does. Thing is, nature is in control.
Yes.
We get to play the role of, thinking that we are in. It's like a little kid who's pretending to be doctor or
Hmm.
mommy or daddy or something.
Right.
They can play the part for a bit, but
Hmm.
then they can't sustain it because it's not theirs. And that's what happens when human beings are trying to control nature and decide what will and won't happen and so on. No, the answer is no. That is not how it's going to go. In the final analysis, we cannot sustain more people on this planet than Mother Nature is willing to tolerate. And I think we have tipped that level, and a lot of it has been through willful ignorance on how we're treating the planet. So now, when you're using your magic to try and, hold back the tide kind of
Right.
thing, um, be aware of your limitations
Ah,
too.
yes. Should be clear on saying that it's not about uh, what's the word? It's not about trying to countermand nature. It's trying to find a solution working with nature.
Mhm. Yeah, you don't get to tell nature what to do. And I don't care how strong your magic is, you don't get to do that. Certainly not for any length of time and not without a price. So really, let's just say be aware of your limitations too.
Yeah. This actually reminds me of I was listening to a discussion, and the guy being interviewed was a druid, and the guy was asking him questions about magic and doing spells and stuff like that. And the guy had basically said the universe doesn't want to be manipulated. So if you're going to do magic, you kind of have to work with the universe.
Yes. That's kind of what we're saying here.
Yeah.
Because you got to work with it. Don't be so arrogant as to think you're going to change its direction or hold it back.
Hmm.
Like that's not the point. So, with the fires, for example, no, we can't stop the fires, but we could help to protect the firefighters,
Right.
and they can do whatever they can do
Hmm.
and not lose their lives, hopefully, in the process. Not lose their health in the process.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing. It's the limitation that you work within.
Yes.
And that's not a bad thing. It's an awareness thing, right? You got to know what's yours and what isn't.
Hmm. Yeah, you really have to be careful. So, well, careful. Like I said, if you're motivated by love, that should give the guidance you need. Barring like people sitting down and having huge discussions and looking at plots and graphs, whatever. If you go in it motivated by love, you're going to, and you do it without being a victim of love, because you can be a victim of love, or you can allow yourself to be. Anyways, you get what I'm saying. You can go there and just be so desperate to do the right thing that you never learn, but to truly love something, you take care of it, and you're willing to make, and you have to make choices sometimes that aren't easy, but because they're necessary, you're willing to make them.
And a healthy awareness of your own limitations.
Yes. Well, that's all
That's
part of it,
that's
right?
key.
That's like I tell people sometimes, when people come to me with a problem, I go, listen, if I can help you, I'll help you. Yeah. But if I can't help you, then I have to step out of the way because I'm
Right,
robbing you of you being helped if I insist on trying to help.
right. So again, we're saying clarity in
Mm.
different
Yeah.
ways, but it's different levels. That's the thing. So we're not repeating the same thing in the same way. It's addressing something else. And not everybody's going to pick up one concept and place it everywhere. That's why we need to
Right.
reiterate in different sort of contexts.
Yeah.
Because it lands differently and what you get from the wording is different
Mm.
because all of the circumstances are different. So, and I think this is the first time we've really mentioned understand your limitations and accept them,
Yeah.
work within them, because that's going to be really important to being as effective as you can be in the right way. If you
And
try
it
and
is
overstretch, you're just going to blow yourself up. Not literally, but energetically, you could end up with some repercussions that'll feel like that.
right. And I imagine that wording is going to upset a lot of people who are trying to push, you know, snake oil and stuff like that. The same snake oil people who've been trying to tell you about, no, you have infinite potential, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, listen, know who you are.
Sure, you have infinite potential, but you're not going to realize it.
Right.
Like that's infinite means you don't reach the end point.
Yeah.
There is no end to it. So sure, you could leap into the void. The void doesn't have a bottom point, so you're
Right.
gonna just keep going. Um, that's not as helpful as it sounds. It's not as desirable as
Yep.
it sounds. And given that we're here having a physical experience on a physical plane, I think you need to accept that there are some limitations. That's a
Mm.
fact. That's absolutely it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I once knew somebody who did a lot of things with their magic that they maybe shouldn't have done. And anyway, I cannot say that there is an absolute connection here, but I can say there's correlation. This
Mhm.
person, as they were diving into more and more sort of left-hand path stuff, really, is
Right.
what they were doing, wasn't balanced. They weren't balancing out what they were doing. And that person ended up getting less healthy, shall we say,
Mm.
as they progressed. And they died in their
Mm.
mid 30s. Now, again, I'm not saying causation, not at all. Wouldn't dream of it. Correlation, though, I saw the two things marching together, shall we
Right.
say, and it was a path that nobody could turn that person away from. They wanted to do that thing, and so they did that
Right.
thing. I'm just saying an awareness of limitations may have been helpful, and I
Yeah.
don't think that particular person had that awareness.
No, so yeah, that's also very important. And also part of loving yourself. So part of the love is the deliverer. Not being so desperate to have magic or have power that you're not willing to take care of yourself.
Right. You have to accept that, yeah, my body's not going to be okay with this. My energy levels are not going to be okay with this. I don't have the capacity for this. It's okay to say that. Like at the beginning of the episode, when we were talking about magic for hire, I immediately said, I do not have the capacity for
Yeah.
this. Like, nope, nope. That is a big fat no from me. Mm-mm. There's no hesitation
Uh,
on that one. I do not have it right now. I'm not saying I never will. I'm just saying I don't right now.
yeah. On a humorous note, the correlation and causation thing, whereas I cannot guarantee it, but the spirit world told me to take a break this summer from doing stuff.
Huh.
And everyone who's asked me to do something has run into trouble.
Oh, that's interesting.
Things have broken.
Okay, note to self. Do not ask Danielle for things.
As long as it's aligned, it's fine.
Well, that's another thing though, is if
Yeah.
it's not aligned, don't do it.
Yep. It's an
That
important
goes
thing
for
to learn.
anybody.
It's a very important
That
thing to learn.
it's massive. It's freaking huge to learn that, which is why human design is a big part of what
Hmm.
I like to focus on, because that's where you learn where your alignment is. If you have no clue, where, what does that mean? What does it feel like to be aligned? If you have no clue, get yourself some human design understanding. Get a reading, a few readings, whatever it is, but understand your human design because that is going to tell you so much that maybe you don't know right now. And if you're not connected to that, if you're not connected to what you need, then that's something to do. And what's really hilarious is I have a second screen up
Mm.
and literally something just popped up as I was talking that said health manifested human design gate 56.
Hmm.
And literally as I was
Yeah.
speaking, that just popped up. So it's like, okay. Um, a new idea, story, lesson, song, or experience can open a door you did not even realize was there.
Hmm.
That's it. That's what I have.
Yeah.
It
So
literally
remember,
just popped up.
yeah. No, that was pretty good because you could see if these were videos, and they are on my end. You would see Mikhail actually looking and reading his screen. So, but
Uh-huh.
yeah. So we'll wrap it up with remember, it's time to go and do magic. It's time to get yourself prepped, to get ready. Whether you become a spellcaster for hire, that's up to you. Whatever feels aligned with you. But yeah, as long as it's aligned,
Integrity.
integrity, and it's done in as love as the deliverer, you're good. The spirit world's on board with it. That's the thing they're throwing out. They won't let me escape it. It keeps coming back over and over and over again to me, not just in cards, but in a lot of other things. So that's
Until
that.
next time.
Yep. So once again, she's Michaela Gaffinstone.
And he is Daniel Dubois.
Until
À la
next
prochaine.
time.